Hi, T. Carlson here. Very few men are as synonymous with the Western film genre than John Wayne. He appeared in over 200 movies, most of which being either Westerns or war films. 1976 saw the release of John Wayne's final film, the end of a long and illustrious career. The movie we're looking at today is The Shootist, which was just released on Blu-ray by Arrow Video. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. Nice cover art of our main hero there. There's our spine text. Back cover with all of our descriptive text and the like. This does come with reversible artwork, which I've already reversed. You got that, which is more akin to the classic movie artwork. Spine text. Back cover text. And one thing I like about Arrow is they always like to give us a few goodies when it comes to these things. We get a nice little mini poster here. Again, this side you've got like the more contemporary art that Arrow Video used for this release. And then on the back you got the same as the reversible art on the sleeve, which is more like the classic movie poster art. Lobby cards as well. Also an ad here for something called Metallo. I don't know what that is, but I'm curious now. Back of this card has an advertisement for the streaming service that Arrow Video has. The mini lobby card reproductions all have that same classic artwork on the back. And then here's the fronts of these cards. And then, as with most Arrow releases, we get a pretty nice sized book as well. Several essays and some pretty cool photos in here as well. As is my usual policy, I'm not going to go through and show off every page of the booklet, but you get the idea. And then a nice quote from Wayne's character there on the back. And I'll read the description of the movie as follows from the packaging. Legendary director Don Siegel directs the iconic John Wayne as an aging gunfighter dying of cancer in his final screen appearance, a superb adaptation of Glendon Swarthout's classic Western novel, The Shootist. John Bernard Books is the stuff of legend, a renowned shootist whose reputation looms large. But it's 1901, and like the Old West, John is dying, and a reputation like his draws trouble when an outhouse draws flies. A word spreads that the famous gunfighter is on his last legs. The vultures begin to gather. Old enemies, the marshal, newspapermen, and undertaker, all eager to see him dead. Other men might die quietly in bed or take their own lives, but J.P. Books will choose his executioner and face down death with a pistol in each hand. With an outstanding cast that features not only Wayne, but James Stewart, Lauren Bacall, Ron Howard, Scatman Crothers, and John Carradine, The Shootist is an ode to a monumental screen presence and to the Western genre itself. It's no secret I love a good Western. John Wayne was one of the most iconic actors of all time in any genre, but he's perhaps most associated with the Western. With the possible exception of Clint Eastwood, he's perhaps the actor more associated with Westerns than any other. Wayne's career is the stuff of legend, and of course he largely played the same character in most of the movies that he appeared in. He had that persona that seemed to go from one film to another. But this time around, we see John Wayne as we rarely see him, vulnerable and weakened. And that's part of the reason I like The Shootist so well. It doesn't make him this super-powered man who can fight his way out of anything. This is a man who is on his last legs, knows he's going to die, has to make peace with his place in the world. And just seeing how everyone around him reacts is certainly something that makes for some interesting drama unfolding. He stays at a boarding house run by a woman played by Lauren Bacall, who, of course, isn't too keen on Books when she finds out who he is and what he's done, although her son certainly dotes on him. He, of course, being played by Ron Howard, who was appearing on the TV series Happy Days at the time. And seeing the relationship between all of them certainly makes for plenty of interesting viewing. And then you get a lot of special guest stars and supporting roles, including Richard Boone, who, of course, played Paladin on the classic Western TV series Have Gun Will Travel, appearing as a rival of sorts. Jimmy Stewart portraying the doctor who gives Books his fatal diagnosis. Harry Morgan as a marshal of sorts who seems somewhat ecstatic that this man who was once an outlaw is finally on death's door. Scatman Crothers is a man who runs a stable. And a pretty wide variety of others. It's a great cast, but the sort of guest appearances here, they never overshadowed the overall arching story of John Wayne's character dying of cancer. And it hits even harder when you realize that, of course, John Wayne had been fighting cancer throughout his life. Supposedly he was cancer-free at the time he was filming this, but he would die of cancer about 3 years later. And the movie was directed by Don Siegel, who, of course, directed the original Dirty Harry, as well as the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Very underrated director. I don't think it's talked about enough. Probably the only minor complaint I have with this movie is there are some extreme scenes of violence that I just really don't think the movie needed. There's very little gunfire in this movie for a Western, and I really think this would have worked simply as a drama with a man, dying from his illness, coming to terms with everything. But it seems like they just had to shoehorn in some scenes of violence that I really don't know that the movie needed this. I mean, the dramatic story is strong enough on its own. When those scenes come up, they're certainly well done and pretty impactful, not to mention quite violent, especially considering this movie got a PG rating at the time. But overall, The Shootist is a great film. It shows us a different side of John Wayne, who probably at the time didn't know this would be his last film. It was a great swan song that unfortunately didn't do great at the box office at the time, but it's been reevaluated over time and is certainly something of an underrated, overlooked masterpiece, despite being Wayne's final film. I was a little disappointed to see this didn't get a 4K release, just a Blu-ray, but Arrow Video's Blu-ray does look absolutely fantastic. The film grain is intact, there's plenty of detail, the colors are bright and bold, the black levels look pretty solid. I mean, the extra little push from HDR would have been nice. There are a handful of scenes that look a little soft, and there's also some moments as well where some of the flesh tones are a little reddish, but overall, it's a great looking disc, and I'm very happy with what I see here. There's also plenty of bonus features on here, including some new ones, including a look at the career of Don Siegel, another one that looks at the making of the film and its screenwriter, who was also the son of the man who wrote the novel that this was based on, and several others, including a few previously released pieces. I'm glad that they really went to the nines when it came to packing this with bonus features, and I don't think fans of the movie will be disappointed. The bonus feature package is nice, picture quality is great, and the supplement package is worth writing home about as well. The Shootist, of course, is John Wayne's final film, but it was a great movie to go out on, and it's certainly one I don't think gets talked about enough. I highly recommend this release to any fan of the film, of John Wayne, of Westerns in general, whoever you may be. How about you? What did you think of The Shootist? Do you think it's one of the best roles from John Wayne? What do you think of the wide array of guest stars who appear in the film? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give us a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.